We good?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so welcome everybody. We have Bjorn Shen here. And let me just share a little bit about him. He is chef and owner of Artichoke and Smalls, MasterChef Singapore judge for 4 seasons. You okay? Chef consultant and done work for a lot of different people. One of them is Low and Bilho Group. They did a rooftop bar, if you can remember, at Loof. Developed seasonal specials for Four Fingers. Developed menus for Sodexo. Helped open different restaurants in Indonesia as well. He was also CNA documentary host, Savoring the Future, the show. Maybe you can check it out. I didn't even know that. He was lecturer at the Culinary Institute of America as well. He was also Time Out magazine columnist. Chef of the Year Singapore, ever been awarded Best Local Chef as well. And Artichoke was awarded Best Casual Restaurant in Singapore. When was that?
2021. 2 years ago.
Awesome. Okay, so honor for him to be here to share with us about his life story and also this whole idea about passion. So Bjorn, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, guys.
First things first, I want to find out from you when was the time that you actually realized that I want to be a chef? Was it the first Maggie mee that you ate or what?
Okay, so a lot of people, I guess, find themselves a lot later in life.
Yeah.
And that's what my experience with a lot of people, right? For me, I don't know if it's because I lucked out or what, but I knew from the time I was very young. So literally, primary school, I already knew I wanted to be a chef.
Impossible. How?
No, I knew. Okay.
Okay.
So I mean, no one believes me, and I don't know if I've exaggerated it over the years to a point where I believe myself right now.
No, I believe. People have said that when you're young, most of the people will be like, okay, I want to be a teacher. When I'm young, I believe in that.
Right.
But what happened?
Like, so my kids right now are telling me they want to work with animals. Like, my daughter's like 6, she's like, I want to be a vet. I'm like, I believe her, because when I was 6, I told my mom I want to be a snowman. Okay, and my mom just laughed it off.
Okay.
Which I don't blame her for doing that. And then she asked me again the very next year, and I said I want to be a rice cooker. And in my mind, when I said rice cooker, what I meant was the person cooking rice, because that's my infantile understanding of what's a chef.
Okay.
It's the person cooking rice in the kitchen. Because you always say, I'm going to cook rice.
Yeah.
You play here for a bit, I'm going to go cook rice, So I wanted to be the rice cooker, and I would always follow my mom into the kitchen. And my mom is not an elaborate cook or anything. She's a very functional sort of cook, right?
Yeah.
And she just, cook for us to survive, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just be very interested in her doing very basic things like just washing rice. So from a young age, in order to get me out of her hair, she put me to work washing the rice. And she'd say, and I'll say, when is it done? She says it's done when the water is no longer milky. And you know how rice, no matter how many times you rinse it, it's still murky, right?
Yes.
So that's her strategy of getting me out of her hair for a very long time.
Okay.
So I was standing there at the sink, washing rice for like 45 minutes, and the water was still a bit pale. I'm like, no, it's not done yet. I'm going to just one more time in this for this 57th time,
my goodness.
Until all the rice was like broken. So yeah, I mean,
But so you really knew?
I knew that I was very interested in the process or in what was going on in the kitchen.
And this was around 6 years old already?
This was about 6 years old. So I always enjoyed watching her. She was frying omelets and cooking rice and stir frying vegetables and all that. When everyone was like, when all these kids in like 10 years old, 12 years old were like reading porn and comics and all that, I was reading cookbooks. I was reading my mom's cookbooks, right? That was my porn, right?
Oh my goodness.
I was reading these cookbooks from like cover to cover. And then I would put it in pencil, put the star on the one that I want my mom to cook for me,
Okay, so break it down for me. It is the act of cooking. It is the savoring of the food. It is the art of plating. What was it?
It was the transformation
Yeah.
of what went in the pan and then came out of the pan. For me, that was magic. For me, that was that was like life-changing. Wow, how can it go in looking like that and come out looking like something else?
Yeah.
And then I eat it, I can actually put it in my mouth and I can shit it out after that.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I was absolutely fascinated by that process of cooking. So, like I said, when all these other kids were, playing with comics and watching porn, I was reading cookbooks and watching afternoon TV. I don't know if anyone from the 80s remembers, but in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, there was always Yen Can Cook.
Yes, Yen Can Cook.
Right?
Yes.
Yen Can Cook. There was Ken Hom. There was all these OGs, Emerald and all that on TV. And there were these afternoon TV sort of chefs. And I was just watching. enthralled, right? I mean, that was what got me off at that time, right? And I was just very into it. But there was a break between that and actually doing it for a career.
Yeah.
Because obviously at the time you're not thinking about career, right?
No.
So, you're just thinking about, what do I want to be when I grow up? But
Yeah.
you don't think of it as a career, as a job, as an employment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always knew I liked to cook. And then moving into secondary school and then JC, during the JC like class barbecues and all that, you have these things, right? Class barbecues. I was always the guy, grilling the chicken, and I was always making decisions on, okay, what should we get for the class barbecue or the reunion party, that sort of thing. That everyone else would get pissed off at me because I was controlling the barbecue. No, don't touch this, don't touch that. It's not ready to flip yet. I was that that Nazi on the barbecue, right? Yeah. And then everyone's forget it, leave him alone, So I was that guy, right? I still did not know I could be a chef for a living, okay? So
you know that you are interested in cooking.
Right. I knew I was interested in cooking. I knew it was going to be like a lifelong hobby.
Okay, right? Got it.
And I knew that I wanted to do a lot more of it, and I wanted to have cooking in my life. But I never made that connection between doing all that cooking and actually cooking for a profession.
Yeah.
So come JC, I was thinking of what to do next and all that. I actually wanted to go to LaSalle and study design. I was very interested in interior design.
You got to be kidding.
No, I'm kidding you not. Okay? I mean, we knew each other from secondary school, right?
So
I don't know if you realize this, but I don't think anyone. No,
you were drawing ridiculous things on Chinese textbooks,
right? So I mean, I had two hobbies in secondary school in terms of drawing. I was very good at drawing penises.
Yes.
All right, I was drawing penises on everyone's textbook. I probably drew penises on your textbook.
Guaranteed. Definitely. Okay, if it's not on my textbook, it's on the Sec 4 leaving one. Confirm.
Confirm, right?
Yeah, because somebody drew a cross on my face, put two eyes, and then damn a lot of penises.
Massive penis. Okay, so I was great at drawing penises. I was great at drawing in general, but I channeled all of it to penises. Right? And I remember that, I would hijack someone's textbook before they went home. I would steal it from their bag just before they went home so that I had their textbook the whole afternoon, and I would draw hundreds of penises all over the textbook, and I would cover all the important diagrams so they couldn't revise for exams. Right? All over the textbooks. I remember I did it to a few people. And then they would realize only when they got home that their textbook was missing, and I'll give it back to them the next day. And
it's all the super quiet people, right?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. So Marcus?
Yeah, me and Marcus would do that to other people, so we were drawing dicks on everyone's books.
Okay, right? So that was one interest, drawing dicks?
So drawing dicks, and then if I wasn't drawing dicks, I was drawing like 3D interior renderings. I actually had rulers and protractors and all that sort of stuff to like draw 3D images of rooms and spaces. And
wow,
I mean, I don't do it anymore, but I was very interested in 3D drawings at the time. Okay,
but how did that interest come about?
Reading Home and Decor magazine.
Okay, so besides cookbooks, you read Home and Decor.
I mean, my mom never forced me in any direction.
Yeah.
But I feel as if I just took the magazines and books that she owned and I found a way to turn them into my interests.
Okay.
I was just never into comics and all that. I was never into cartoons and comics and things that other kids were into. Everyone in our school was playing soccer. I didn't give a shit about soccer. Right?
Yeah, same.
I still don't give a shit about soccer.
Agreed.
No disrespect. Soccer is a great game. I'm just not interested. Right? I was interested in other things like drawing dicks and interior design.
Okay.
For a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So for me, I knew I could make a profession out of that. Yeah. So I wanted to go and, enroll myself in LaSalle or NAFA, for these things.
This is what, after A-levels,
this is
after army, all that?
I mean, I already kind of wanted to do it after O-levels, but, my mom was like, no, you got to go to JC and all that, right?
Yeah.
Being that conservative Asian parent,
yes.
Like if you do well enough to get to JC, then you may as well go to JC, right?
Yeah.
So I went to JC and I was like, okay, fine, I'll do my own thing after I've done JC.
Yeah.
So, then you go to army.
Yeah.
And in army, you're still planning what you're going to do when you finish army.
Yeah.
So, I was looking up all these programs, like, LaSalle programs for interior design or product design. They called it industrial design.
Okay.
My cousin, who's like maybe about 6 years older than me, did this thing called industrial design in RMIT. And he won so many awards. And he actually, there was a very famous designer, Mark Newson, and his project got picked up by Mark Newson to turn into life. And he was like the pride and joy of the family at the time. Wow, Ray's project got picked up by Mark Newson, So I was like, I want to be like my cousin, man. My cousin's cool. I want to be like Ray. Ray, if you're listening, I want to be like you, So I was like, shit, I want to go and pursue interior design or, industrial design.
Yeah.
And then our friend Alex Yip,
Oh, yeah.
Alex Yip, who was a classmate of ours, right?
Yeah.
He said to me, Bjorn, you like cooking, right?
Yeah.
You cook all the time at parties. You throw these parties at home trying to impress girls and all that. Why don't you just be a chef? I'm like, what? Huh? What? A chef? What chef? He's like, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a designer, right? You're looking through all these, like, school books and all that, like which school you're going to go to and study design. Like, why don't you just go be a bloody chef? And I'm like, you mean you can do that? So I'm like, suddenly it opened up my mind to a whole avenue that was there I never realized before
You're
this.
kidding. That was the first time.
That was the first time. I'm like, oh, I actually gave it some thought. I gave it some air. I gave it some thought. I'm like, hey, shit. What am I doing fussing around looking at design stuff when, this chefing thing is a little bit more directly in front of me.
Yeah.
So I said, how do I do that?
Yeah.
See, you just got to go and work first, right? Just go and work first. So he said, hey, I know this cafe owner, he's got a cafe in Tanglin Mall. It's called the Outsider Cafe. Why don't I hook you up with him and you go and get a job there straight from NS?
Yeah.
And then you figure it out, if you like it, then you go cooking school instead of design school,
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you mean you can do that, right? So he hooked me up with this guy, Jack, right? He said, I'll give you his number. His name is Jack.
Yeah.
Give him a call, and just offer yourself.
Yeah.
Go down for an interview one day. And true enough, I didn't have a resume. I mean, fresh out of NS.
Nothing.
And, I mean, I've had part-time jobs before this, right? Cleaning fish tanks and selling postcards and all that. But I never had a full-time job. So obviously I didn't have a resume. So stupid me, I went down for my first interview. I brought a photo album of pictures of food that I cooked.
That's good enough.
This was like photographs that you printed out at the time.
For R3R, yeah.
We got to remind people how long ago this was.
Like
okay?
35 cents, that's like a Kodak, that kind of like
Kodak,
film.
that kind of shit. Now, for me, that was like avant-garde. I'm bringing my portfolio, right? So I went down to Jack and showed Jack, hey, Jack, nice to meet you. My name is Bjorn.
Yeah.
Introduced through Alex.
Yeah.
I'm looking for a job. I want to try out what it's like being a chef. Here's my portfolio. Yeah. He looked at it. He was like, interesting. Interesting.
No, so okay, wait. So backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
You actually documented it.
No,
Because in my mind, I wouldn't have photographed the things that I enjoyed unless I kind of know that I want to build a portfolio. Or what was happening in your mind when you knew that, hey, actually this will come in handy? Or were just like, oh, no way.
Look, I mean, people take selfies, right? People take photos of like occasions. So I used to take photos of my food. I had a little shitty $99 camera somewhere.
Yeah.
Film camera.
Right. And you take photo of food since when? Was it since primary school, secondary school? Or what?
I mean, since the day I was like cooking a bit more seriously, like, which was maybe like Sec 4 onwards.
Sec 4 onwards, you started to take photo.
When you started getting part-time jobs and like earning salary, right? Salary, even though it's like $2.50 an hour or whatever, right? You spend some money, you invite some friends over. Yeah. Like I said, I want to impress the girls. Yeah. So I have a party at my house, cook something.
SCGS girls, or MGS?
Any school.
Okay,
any school, but yeah, SCGS especially. No. So and then I just start taking photos of the food.
But it's interesting. I mean, like, to think that you would want to take photo of it, and wow, it's amazing. So you set up your portfolio, and you didn't even know it's a portfolio. You just enjoyed taking food. It was your pride, and then you just wanted to take photo of it.
And I just happily brought down that album for.
Then what happened?
For Jack, and he's like, okay, so well, we don't have any space for chefs, but if you want, you can start at the dishwashing station. We need someone to help with making drinks and washing dishes.
Okay.
I don't know why those two were combined together in one job description. I don't know which other company combines those two professionally, but that's how it worked back then. So I'm like, how much are you paying?
Yeah.
It's like $4.50 an hour. Like, okay. But that gets me in the kitchen, right? And it's like, if, one day I can work my way up from there. Yeah. He was like, yeah, of course. But you got to start here because that's where we need, a pair of hands at the moment. We don't need a chef. Yeah. We don't need a cook, I'm like, yes, I'll take it. Thank you very much. I shook his hand and I went back home and I told my parents I got a job as a chef. Right? And my parents were obviously not convinced because
Yeah.
they said, look, don't be a chef. There was a lot of stigma about
Yeah.
being a chef, right? As there was with being an interior designer, to be very honest with you. I mean, while it is, a lot of artistic professions today
Yeah.
are revered and respected.
Yeah.
This, I'm talking about 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Where your interior designer was someone operating out of a small office in an old rundown shopping mall, Abing type.
Or contractor come interior designer.
So the
it's more,
Phua Chu Kang type lah.
Yes, yes.
It was your Phua Chu Kang type
Yeah,
of guy, and
yeah.
there were only like the very small amount of I guess what do you call them?
linesman, drawman, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, but it's just a very small minority that were actually revered for their craft.
Okay.
Everyone else was like your Phua Chu Kang contractor, lah,
contractor.
who took a few measurements and designed you a cabinet or what,
Yes.
So that was the impression of being an interior designer, and the impression of being a chef was some guy in a white uniform squatting at the back, eating lunch and smoking cigarette at the back alley.
Or not educated.
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
Came out of prison. No,
Could be.
Yeah, no, because I mean
Really?
that's where a lot of people fresh out of prison go to because no other jobs will take them.
Yeah. So it's more of if you are educated, go get a degree and do something that is
White collar. Right.
aircon, things like that.
Right.
Physical,
Yes.
maybe don't consider that.
Yes.
That's our parents' generation.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't blame them for that. The world has changed very much, and
Yeah.
we respect a lot of blue-collar professions. What
Definitely.
we understand is traditionally blue-collar professions today, but 25 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah.
If you came from a family that was privileged enough to give you an education, you better get a white-collar job.
Yes. Yeah.
You better not coming home smelling like onions.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So you told your parents.
I told my
that-
parents, look, let me prove to you that I want this. Because, as a young Asian kid growing up, you still want your parents' validation,
Yes.
even though you're, at the age of 18 or 20 or whatever,
Yeah.
and you can make your own decisions.
Yeah.
You still want to make a decision that they're going to approve
Yeah.
in some way. So I said, let me prove to you that I got what it takes and that I will stay the course. So I worked as a dishwasher straight out of NS with no further education apart from for $4.50 an hour, where most of the time I was washing dishes, right? I was making coffee and I was stacking chairs after work just to, clean up and close down the place. And I literally smelled of garlic every night going home, and no one wanted to sit next to me on the bus.
Okay.
So that's how I was for a good 6 months. So one day the head chef calls up work, calls Jack and says, "Hey Jack, this was like a Friday, right? He calls Jack and says, "Hey Jack, is there any way you can give me a raise? Because, I'm having some financial difficulties and I hope that you can give me a raise." And Jack was like, why don't you come to work and talk about it?
Yeah.
Jack was like, no, I want you to promise me over the phone, and if not, I can't come into work today.
You mean the chef? The chef was asking.
threatening
Okay.
Jack, if you don't give me a raise, I'm not going to come into
not-
work
okay.
today, and you're going to have one hell of a weekend without me. And Jack didn't cave in. He's like, I'm not negotiating with terrorists. If you want to come, you come. If you don't want to come, piss off.
Right.
Right? And he said, you call me back in 5 minutes and tell me whether you're going to come in and talk to me.
Okay.
And he didn't hear back from the chef. And he came into the kitchen and said, everyone move up one rank. And I was in the middle of washing some butter knives or whatever. I'm like, what? Did I hear that? Everyone move up one rank? I was like, me. Amy, do I get to cook now? Yes. So I got promoted.
Few promotion because the guy left.
My first promotion, my first professional promotion, towards the end of my 6 months there,
Yeah.
started cutting garlic and chili and onions and started doing prep. Like I said, cooking pasta dishes and setting up the soup station and all that. So that was big for me, right? How
do you feel when you suddenly was able to do that?
Oh, it was massive. I mean, like I said, my first promotion, and I didn't think it'd come so soon. I enjoyed washing dishes. I still enjoy washing dishes.
Yeah.
It's very therapeutic, Only when, people throw in steak knives and all that into the water and I cut myself, that's not fun.
Okay.
But apart from that, it was quite therapeutic.
All right.
So
So that was your break.
That was my break. And I was like, yes.
First break in the real world.
Yeah,
Cooking things, helping out.
correct.
Okay.
But then going back to my parents, so 6 months in, I said, look, I'm still in it.
yeah.
I'm actually cooking now. I lied to you last time. I wasn't a chef. I was a dishwasher for the first few months, but now I'm really a chef, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay, lah, son. Whatever, like, you've proven to us, like, you've proven to us that this is not just a passing phase. Because they like to brush it off as, oh, he's just going through a phase.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, lah. If you really wanted to go culinary school, then fine, fine, go to culinary school.
Okay.
So they allowed me to go to culinary school. And then I just went, and that's the rest of it.
So you went to culinary school where, Australia?
Yeah, in Australia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you even know about the culinary school in the first place?
One of my army buddies, his name is David Heng, who ended up being the first founding executive chef of Food for Thought here in Singapore.
Oh, okay.
He was my good army buddy, and he finished army like 6 months before me.
Yeah.
And he went to the school first.
Okay.
It's TAFE in New South Wales.
Right.
And he went there and he gave me a breakdown of the course and he told me what to expect and all that. I'm like, yeah, okay, you know how in Singapore, I mean, sounds privileged and all that, but when parents help their kids with tertiary education, if you come from a family that's privileged enough, that's very common.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did have that privilege of my family being able to help me with my tertiary education course. So I went to culinary school.
Yeah.
And I dropped out 3 months after.
Really?
So I dropped out with a Cert 1.
Okay. What happened?
So the way it works is, right, you get Cert 1, Cert 2, Cert 3, and then after Cert 3, you do another 6 months, you get your diploma. So I dropped out after Cert 1.
How?
Of my own choosing.
Okay.
I think we've all been 21 years old and dumb.
Yeah.
Thought we knew better. I thought I knew better because on the side I was working for all these fancy chefs.
No, in Australia?
In Australia. And I was,
okay. So you're working as well.
I was working on the side. I was schooling a few days a week and working a few days a week on the side. And I was working for these fancy chefs. And I just thought, hey, I kind of go to culinary school so that I can eventually work for these people. But if I'm already working for these people part-time, then
no difference.
No difference. I might as well just save the money and go and work right now. And the truth is, I wasn't actually working. I was plucking herbs. These celebrity chefs didn't even know who I was. They didn't even know my name. I was in the back of the kitchen plucking herbs and taking out the trash and doing all the shit jobs that no one else was doing, but I was loving it.
Yeah.
So I decided to just quit culinary school at the time and continue working. And happy days. I mean, this was the time where Australia was giving out PRs like water.
Okay.
If you had a relative who lived in Australia, they were like citizens of good standing, they could sponsor you,
Yeah.
So I got in very early.
You got in where?
To Australia as a PR.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was able to just continue.
Continue working. Okay, so if you didn't get PR, you had to leave.
I had to
go
leave.
back home.
Yeah,
okay.
of course I had to.
Okay, so because you got PR, you continued working. So share with me how does that work? That means you were studying and then you were working part-time.
Yeah.
Was it for money or experience, or you just wanted to be near those people, near the kitchen?
No, it was my profession. I was earning money. That was my source of income.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Okay, so after you quit, after 20 months, you carry on those restaurants?
3 months. I quit after 3 months of culinary school.
Not 20 months?
3.
You got to be kidding.
3 months.
You flew all the way there, did everything.
I did everything. I got Cert 1. Yes. Highest education level, Cert 1.
You set up everything. You set up shop there for supposed to be for what, 3 years?
I mean, it was supposed to be like 2 years.
And then after 3 months,
after 3 months,
quit?
I'm like, yeah.
And then, so tell me, so now you are finished Cert 1. Where are you now? You are in these 3 restaurants, 5 restaurants? You're just doing everything or what?
No, I just continued working and then felt bored.
Yeah.
Like I said, everyone's been 21 years old and hyperactive in their body and mind.
Yeah.
And after like a few months of doing it, I'm like, shit, my highest education level is Cert 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's not great. So I'm like, okay, maybe I should go to university. So I went to university.
What?
Yeah.
And university in what?
I ended up deciding to go to university in hospitality and tourism. So I moved state. I moved to Queensland, went to the University of Queensland in Brisbane City, and studied hospitality and tourism management, hoping that one day it'd help me become a better chef, or it'd help me rise up the ranks inside the kitchen to,
Yeah.
F&B director of some big regional hospitality hotel chain or whatever,
Yeah.
I thought that was the most relevant sort of degree program
Okay.
to all my cooking experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
By then, I just forgot all about the design thing. Yeah. So, if anyone's wondering, I forgot all about the design thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you stopped after 3 months. You continue working, and
A few
then
months later, I'm like, oh, yeah.
you decided to go to university
Yeah.
and study hospitality.
Yeah.
Okay. Then and the passion for cooking, does it continue?
It continues because, like I said, I was already a PR.
Yeah.
So I was able to work part-time.
Okay.
I was able to study part-time and work full-time.
Okay.
So I continued working through my university days. Yeah, continued working through my university days. I spent the longest time working at at a cafe near my house.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Greek cafe.
Right.
Well, it was a modern Australian cafe, but the head chef was Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And when the head chef is of a particular ethnicity, the food and the menu also kind of has that sort of cuisine embedded into it.
Right.
So it was a modern Australian cafe with a lot of Greek dishes on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're working part-time, you're working full-time, study part-time.
There's some terms I was studying full-time,
Okay.
working part-time. Some terms I decided to take it easy, go to university part-time, work more hours, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I was working in a few places. I was working in 7-Eleven. I was working at the restaurant. I was selling fake Von Dutch caps on eBay until I got caught by FBI. So yeah, my house was very interesting, right? My housemate, fellow Singaporean guy at the time, he had this factory. He made friends in university with this Chinese guy
Yeah.
whose uncle ran a factory in China that was making Wilson tennis rackets.
Okay.
And they would take the rejects, the ones
Yeah.
with slight defects,
Yeah.
and they would ship it to him. And he would sell it on eBay
Yeah.
for like a fraction of the price of an actual Wilson tennis racket. And he would admit on his description that this got a slight defect or these are slight factory rejects.
Yeah.
But he was making so much money.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I need to outdo my housemate. I need to sell something as well, right? So I found these bulk sellers of Von Dutch caps that were obviously fake Von Dutch caps.
Yeah.
So I used to put up this listing, Von Duk. It's purposely spell it wrongly, Von Duk. Right? Von Duk caps, and brand new ones, real ones were going for $50.
Yeah.
I was selling mine for $25. So in my mind, it was obviously fake. You know it's fake when you buy it. It's too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
But then I got caught by the FBI one day. I don't know if it's true, but anyway, I logged into my account one day. I was making quite a good amount of money on the side. I got logged into my account one day and it says, your account has been suspended. The FBI has caught you engaging in counterfeit acts, and we will be following up shortly.
Oh my.
Oh shit, I tell you, I lived the next few weeks in fear.
Yeah.
I actually moved out for a few weeks. I moved out for a few weeks and I lived with a friend.
Yeah, lay low for a while,
I
right?
lay low. I literally moved again. I stayed with a friend in Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at home.
Oh my.
Just in case anyone came to arrest me.
Yeah.
It's just dumb anyway. I should have just moved state and moved house permanently, but I didn't. And I just kept quiet about it. And when I thought the coast was clear, I came back and
Nothing happened.
okay, I got my account suspended. That's it.
Okay.
So I never went to jail for that.
That's good
But
to
yeah,
hear.
so I was cooking in kitchens. I was
Yeah.
working at 7-Eleven late night
Doing
shift.
part-time things and all that.
And
Okay.
I was hustling. I was just hustling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you finished the degree, came back to Singapore, or what happened?
No, I wasn't one of the most studious guys in class, right?
Yeah.
I was the guy skipping a lot of lectures and
Okay.
and all that. And I always, rock in at the back of the lecture hall, sit at the back so I could leave early and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I was a shit student. But somehow I graduated on the Dean's Honor Roll,
Okay.
which in my understanding means that you're top percentile lah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe this is a superpower that I had but I never knew about. How is this? I felt bad for all those studious friends of mine, right?
Yeah, but how do you even get the dean's list if you're a shit student?
I feel as if I understood how to answer exam questions and write essays.
Okay.
I feel as if I found a parallel route
Okay.
to results
Okay.
that other people struggled with, because I feel bad for the people who actually studying, who were mugging and studying and putting all their best efforts into schoolwork and sitting at the front of the class and taking all these notes. I had no notes, right? But I kind of felt like I might have cracked the code somehow by just framing my answers in a certain way. So I'm like, shit, this is cool.
Okay. Does this have anything to do with your passion for cooking and all that? Could it be empathy, where hospitality was all about empathy and where you were able to put yourself in that person's shoes?
No.
No? And what is the code?
I think it's because I was just 2.5 years older than everyone else around me. Because as you know, in Singapore, we do NS.
Yeah.
So that, we come in as a Singaporean overseas student or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You go to an overseas university, you're immediately 2 to 3 years
Okay.
older than everyone else around you. And therefore, your mind may be a little bit more cunning, or you just might be a bit of a better con man,
Okay.
So I felt like
so you're
I
on
was...
Dean's list.
I felt like, how the fuck did I just do this, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe it's a special power that I have. It's like, I can cast fireballs. I didn't even know about it. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to do it again, test whether I can do it again. So I signed up for a master's degree.
What?
Because you know what? It barely cost anything, right? I was on local fees.
Yeah.
I wasn't on international student fees. I was on local fees. I could sign up for a master's program.
Local fees means your PR signing up for masters.
That's fine.
Okay,
and I was working on the side. I was earning all this money,
So it's
right?
okay.
I was selling all these fake caps, right? Still at that point, So I'm like, okay, let's sign up and see whether I can get on Dean's Honor Roll again.
And what do you have? And what happened?
I got on the Dean's Honor
Oh
Roll.
my goodness! And what do you masters in what?
I decided to do a master's in business. What? Master's in business. So with a specialization in consumer psychology and marketing.
Okay.
So I did that, and I actually enjoyed. This time when I was in my master's, I actually enjoyed myself. I thought what I was studying was very relevant.
Okay.
And I actually enjoyed certain subjects very much.
Right.
So I graduated on the Dean's Honor Roll again.
Oh my goodness.
Even though I spent most of my master's studying part-time and working full-time.
Okay.
Right? Now, I don't think I'm clever.
Yeah.
I still don't think I'm that clever. I'm not bragging here. I don't think I'm that clever. Compared to a lot of my friends, I'm quite butt dumb.
Yeah.
Right? I'm quite slow to grasp certain things.
But you cracked
But
it
I
somehow.
feel as if I found a way to crack
Okay.
the university system of how you make how you do presentations, how you write reports and essays and all that, right? I mean, university education, there was no multiple choice exams, right? It was all about, qualitative answers. And I found that I was a smooth talker in that sense,
Okay.
So I was a smooth talker on paper, So I'm like, shit.
Okay, so after masters,
I'm like, okay, then I got to do a PhD.
you gotta be kidding me.
No, I was not kidding.
Okay.
So I said, okay, dude, I got to try this again. Superpowers, right? So I started searching for a supervisor
For
to take me on for a PhD.
And then?
I already had all these research topics in mind. And the one supervisor who was my mentor in university, he was my lecturer all the way from my undergrad days and all that.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I still keep in touch with him, he said to me at the time, Bjorn, you're a fucking idiot. Right? You're doing all this for fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He said, don't make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
Go out there and get your work experience. And then come back if you want to do a PhD, and I'll be ready for you at the time.
Okay.
But if you do this as a joke right now, I'm not part of this with you.
Okay.
He said that you'll end up as a young guy with 0 full-time work experience, apart from being a chef, who then holds a PhD. And no one's going to respect you, right?
Or everybody will respect you.
No, he said no one's going to respect you because you don't come from any industry grounding.
Right.
If you want to do is a PhD in, let's say, marketing, because I've only been a chef, I've never worked in a marketing.
Yeah.
Right. So he said, Bjorn, tough love here. No, I'm not supervising your PhD.
Okay.
You either find someone else, or you go out there and you get as much work experience as you can, and then come back for your PhD. So I'm like, oh, that hit very hard, right?
Okay.
And I came back and I said, okay, time to time to do what I got to do, which is work full time. And I thought, what's the fastest way to get work experience and life experience, and then go back and do my PhD?
So you didn't think about being a chef full time at that point in time, setting up a restaurant or anything?
By then, I was already thinking, towards the end of my master's days, I was actually working as a research assistant in university. I moved out of the kitchen, and with that lecturer, his name is Richard Robinson, I was his assistant. I was setting up tests for him. I was doing research work for him and all that. I was earning more money. as a research assistant.
Don't really understand. So you had a passion for cooking,
Yep.
and suddenly you have this superpower.
I've
of
discovered this
academia.
superpower. Yeah.
For some strange reason,
Yep.
you are able to hack academia.
Yeah.
And you kind of went full on with that
Yeah.
and wanting to go further.
Yeah.
Until your Sifu says, screw it, go
Yeah.
back and then do something
Yeah.
else.
Correct.
So,
So I was addicted to the success, to that
Yeah.
accidental success, and I kept going. So I quit my job in the restaurant,
yeah.
right? And I started working in academia. I was a research assistant.
So you could actually have that sliding door moment where you could be just academia all the way.
Yeah, I could have. But then, lucky for me, I mean, I had someone slap me on the head and say, "You're an idiot," right? Go and work in marketing, in something else. You've only been a chef. Go and
Right.
work for something else.
So where do you work?
So I thought, okay, let's come back to Singapore and open a restaurant. Let's come back to Singapore and do something. So I came back to Singapore.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can open something on the cheap, I'll open something on the cheap. Like, I had, like I said, I was selling fake Von Dutch caps.
Yeah,
I was working at 7-Eleven,
Yeah.
$38 an hour overnight, right? The dangerous shift late at night.
Yeah.
So I had some savings, right? I to be honest with you, I had about 100 over grand savings
Right.
in like 8 years of being there.
Yeah.
I came back and I'm like, okay, if I can set something up for like, 80 grand, 100 grand. I didn't know how much it costs, right?
Yeah.
So I had this number. To me, 100 grand sounded like a lot, right? So I came back and I started working. I actually ended up,
Where do you work?
so I needed money, obviously.
Yeah.
So I came back to Singapore and I ended up doing part-time work. I was like flipping eggs at a place called Hatched. Hatched.
Gerald. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So I was working part-time at Hatch. I was
Yeah.
like working like 4 days a week or what, right? And I was spending the last 1-2 days a week looking for places to open a restaurant.
Okay.
And again, just to remind everyone how early this was, how long ago this was, I couldn't even search for restaurants on the internet. This was classified ads in the newspapers.
Yeah.
I was flipping open the classified ads every day and highlighting numbers that I would then phone up. These would be business owners or real estate agents or what, and inspecting places. So I worked at Hatch for like 6 to 9 months. I forgot, but I was working there like 4 days a week, for about 6 months or so. And then the owner of Hatch came to me one day and said, hey Bjorn, my friend's restaurant is moving out of this space and it's a great space, and if you're looking for a little cafe to open, why don't I put you in touch with him? And that's how it happened. So I was put in touch with this guy Paul, who used to run a restaurant called Secret Garden in the space where Artichoke is at today, and he was moving out.
Right.
And he was looking for someone to come in and take over and pay him a takeover fee to take over his, stuff and all that, and negotiate a new lease with the landlord. And turns out it's a government property, so it's not so straightforward. I had to tender for the place.
Okay.
But I somehow got it. Again, I had a lot of people, very fortunate to have a lot of people backing me. And even though I pitched the least amount of rent, they took me instead of other people, established operators, because they, in the spirit of cultivating an art space, they wanted to give it to someone fresh.
Right.
So
you're like you're like the role model. I want a chef that it's almost like a discovery kind of thing.
Something like that. There was a board that made the decision as to who took the place, right? And I mean, part of the consideration is money, rent.
Yeah.
But the other part of the consideration is concept.
Okay.
Right? And there was one person, I'm going to give thanks to that one person right here. Her name is Marjorie Chu. She was one of the board members. And even though the board was split on me, she came in and banged the table and said, if you don't choose Bjorn for this, right, I'm leaving this board. I don't know. She said something like that. She said something like that, okay? But she basically manhandled everyone else into agreeing and having me as the chosen tenant.
How did that happen? Because you are nobody.
I was nobody.
And you just
I offered the lowest amount of rent.
Yeah, no. What concept do you pitch that they were like, wow?
Okay, so I feel like maybe also because the other people, I know who they were.
Yeah.
I can't say who they were, but they pitched very nighttime concepts with live music and, drinking concepts and all that. And I was the only one that pitched this wholesome day and night sort of, lunch and dinner. And I want to work with the museum and the arts space here. And I want to support the programming and all that. So it was first of all, it was a good fit.
Yeah.
Second of all, here was, they are in the business of running an arts organization, right? So they're all about residency programs and, supporting the arts.
Yes.
So here was this young guy who they were supporting the art of a young guy as opposed to all these other established brands
Right.
that wanted the space.
Helping you with your dream.
Yes, and I cannot be more thankful and more grateful.
Wow. So that was that one break.
One break.
And that was a big place.
It was way bigger than I had in mind because all
Yeah.
I wanted to do when I came back was to open a small cafe.
Yeah, exactly.
With like 20 seats, 30 seats.
Yeah.
Be the only chef in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? Or the only, one of the only guys there.
Yeah.
Have a very small space. And this was like 100-seat restaurant.
Yeah.
I was not ready for this place.
Exactly. I remember you came back from Australia.
Yeah.
We had coffee over at Club Key there.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? Then you were asking me, hey, do you have anybody that you know that at restaurants and all that? You were actively searching.
Yes.
And I remember we were sitting on there and you remember you saying that, I want something small.
Yeah.
So when you get this, it's like totally
So
different.
this was way too big, right? This was way too big for me. I mean, it's massive.
Yeah.
So how I got around that was I proposed the rent that I was comfortable with.
Yeah, okay.
If I proposed the rent that, related and corresponded with the size of space, then I would have been way over my head.
Okay.
So I proposed the rent that I was comfortable with for a smaller space.
Right.
And they
gave you the whole thing.
They let me
amazing.
have it, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
so
I was just freaking lucky and blessed. That's all I can say.
Okay, so Marguerite Chu.
Marjorie Chu and the
Marjorie
rest of the board at Sculpture Square at the time. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
So you got your place and all that. One thing that everybody's always thinking about is passion.
Yep.
What do you think about this whole idea of passion? Because if I break down passion, it is interest, things that you can talk about.
Yep.
Obviously, you can talk about food a lot.
Yep.
Things that you feel are your strengths.
Yep.
I wanted to find out from you, when you started cooking and started all these things,
Yep.
who believed in you, or did you believe in yourself, or where do you get that validation?
Okay. So let's talk about passion. Passion for me is a dirty P word, right? Because it only takes you so far, and you find that a lot of things burn through your passion.
What do you mean?
Okay, so I think of it like a young chef. I ended up teaching in the CIA, Culinary Institute of America, for 7 good years, and I saw a lot of students come through, and I feel like a lot of them, the attrition rate is quite high because they come in with a lot of passion, but then the industry burns away their passion. The passion is almost like a piece of charcoal, which has got a limited lifespan, and when you burn through it, it's gone.
Okay.
So this industry is one of those that burns through your passion. Because while you love what you do as a chef, as you think about being a chef as just cooking and creating and making food, but the truth is you're dealing with issues all the time that are not food related.
Yeah.
So it will burn away your passion.
Okay.
You will end up dealing with staff issues. Two people fight, they don't like each other, they both love you, you love both of them, but they can't get along.
Right.
They fight, both leave. Then you're like, right?
Okay.
And it slowly chips away at you. You're dealing with things like, you put out a beautiful plate of food, what you believe is to be a good price, and then someone gives you a 1-star review because they believe it should be half the price that you pitched it at. They don't believe the restaurant should make a profit. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Eventually, even though you know it's nonsense, it burns away at your soul. So there's a lot of like soul consuming things that you have to deal with as a business owner, not as a chef. Right? As a chef, you just come to work, you do your food, you touch ingredients, you make your dish, and then you go home, right? Maybe your idea doesn't get past the owner. Okay, that's the only thing that makes you a bit pissed off. Owner wants you to cook things you don't want to cook.
Right.
But as a business owner, you deal with a lot of other shit.
Right. Yes.
And I found that even though I had a passion for food, food only took 10% of my daily work. The other 90% was fixing broken pipes,
Everything
dealing
else.
with government authorities, dealing with staff problems.
Yeah. Okay. So I think because you are in a very unique situation, you are firstly a chef, you're also an owner.
Yeah.
So some people might follow their passion and just be a chef. They don't care about HR issues and all that.
Yes, and if you follow your passion and become a chef, and this is what I found, right? When you're in your early 20s, fresh out of culinary school, you're okay to take a chef's salary.
Yeah.
And chef salaries are not high.
Okay.
I'll say this as a very matter of fact sort of thing, right? The industry salary that can be awarded to any employee is based on how profitable that industry is.
Yeah.
F&B is not a profitable industry. Profit margins are super slim. If people are wondering, the average profitability of a successful business in Singapore is 5%. That's for a $10 plate of food, 50 cents is your profit. For a successful restaurant. People always think it's like $5. It's 50 freaking cents.
That's low.
$9.50 is your rent, is your staffing, it's your overheads, everything.
Right.
Okay? And this is for the successful ones. that even make a profit. That's a minority of people, okay? So it's 50 cents.
Yeah.
So because the profits are so thin, chef salaries are not that high.
Yes.
It's not like we are trading ships, or not like we're working in a bank where we sell, intellectual services that are worth, great amounts of what we're trading on plates of food here. $15, $25 plates of food.
Yeah.
So chef salaries are not high. So when you're 25 years old,
It's okay.
it's okay. When you come out, you're okay to sacrifice that. Suddenly, I find that a lot of chefs, by the time they get to close to 30, when they're starting to think about next steps in life, when they want to settle down,
settling down, kids, and
getting
all that.
married, having kids, suddenly the 30-year mark, 30 years of age mark is the time where they flip.
That they have to be a business owner.
No, they end up leaving the industry. Their passion is not enough to carry them forward,
Right.
because passion alone doesn't pay the bills.
Okay.
And a chef's salary for some people does not pay the bills that they need.
Right.
It does not afford them the ability to go on holidays, the luxuries that they want in life.
Okay.
And they start realizing, hey, shit, how long is it going to take for me to, get, will I even ever get the salary that I want? Will I even ever,
Right. So would you say that at that 30-year mark, it's either you quit the industry or you set up your own?
Well, a lot of people don't have the money to set up their own.
Okay. So most have that attrition.
Yeah, that's why you have attrition rate.
Okay.
That's why you have attrition rate.
Okay. So that's why you feel that passion can only take you so much. Then what would you say to a very passionate person who loves doing this?
Yeah.
What should he do at 30 then?
I don't know. Look, if you really are passionate about it, but you need, and you understand that your lifestyle requires a certain amount of money that you're not going to make from the industry, then just keep it as a hobby.
Okay.
Keep it as a hobby. Don't go into it, because it'd be dumb to waste 10 years of your life
Okay.
going into it. Imagine starting again from scratch. 10 years after you first enter the workforce.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with trying a few things, but you would have all that lost time.
Yeah.
And you now have a skill that's not applicable in other places.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have that passion, you could just carry on with the hobby rather than just going full time.
And I think most people should. A lot of restaurant owners I know, in hindsight, should have just kept it as a passion,
Okay.
because it takes a different set of criteria and skill and fortitude
Yeah.
to actually be a business owner.
Got it. Totally understand. It's a totally different ball game from just doing that.
Or a chef. Chefs, okay. And again, to qualify, chefs can earn a lot of money, but you need to stay the course and you need to wait till you get to the higher positions. Entry-level salaries are shit. Okay? But I can tell you that when you get to middle management and above, you're earning more than a lot of government employees.
Okay.
You're better off than a lot of government jobs.
So you need to stay the course if you really do
And
want.
a lot of people can't stay the course.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So last few questions. What is one value that you feel makes you feel that, okay, this job is meaningful to me? What is a value that you're living out?
Okay. So as a business owner myself and as a chef, I find myself in the very privileged position of being able to cook to my self-expression.
Like an artist.
I can do things that other business owners would not allow their chefs to do.
Yeah.
I can express myself.
Okay.
Should I want to. And I want to.
Okay.
So I don't have to do things that are safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
As long as I am agreeable with the risk,
Yeah.
I understand the risk, and I'm willing to take those risks, I can do things that are not safe. I can do things that sound absolutely stupid. And I've done things that are absolutely stupid.
Right. So safe, you're talking about as a business or?
As a business concept. Just look at what I last did at Smalls, which was my omakase restaurant. I did one whole year where I did bread sushi.
Right.
Where I turned Smalls into a sushi bar, where we were putting freaking Japanese raw fish on top of pieces of bread. There's no rice. We were taking bread fresh from the oven that we made like a good pizza dough for, and we were slapping raw fish on bread. And this is like sacrilegious to every Japanese chef out there and every Japanese person.
Right.
And it just makes absolutely no sense. But we could do it for a year because I'm the business owner.
Right. So so the core thing is what? Expression, creativity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we take a concept like omakase, which is a very premium sort of dining experience, and we made pizza omakase. We're the first to do pizza omakase. We're like, what the fuck is this guy thinking, right? But hey, I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay.
I have the benefit of doing that. I'm blessed that I can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Last thing. Do you feel that this is going to be the main thing that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life? Or is there
Yes,
something
I
else?
feel, yes, absolutely. I have many more years to give in me.
Yeah.
And 13 years in, this year will be the 14th year, still not dead.
All right.
Still not dead.
Okay.
I have a lot more to give.
Cool. One last thing for the viewers and audience. What would you say to somebody who does have a passion, but they're working a 9 to 5? They
Yeah.
do have something, but they have never actually tried it out or pushed for it.
Yep.
What would you say to somebody like that?
You know, this is exactly what I thought as well. I mean, do I pursue it? Do I not pursue it?
Yeah.
I have to ask you the question. If you don't pursue it, will you one day regret not pursuing it?
I think most would, right?
Most would.
Yeah.
If you are the kind that can just leave it alone and not come back and wonder about it,
Yeah.
then just leave it alone.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bjorn, for your time today. And for everybody, you can check out his restaurant, Artichoke and Smalls, and go there. And are you still serving the omakase?
We do omakase right now. We're doing kebab omakase right now.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Bjorn, for your time today.
Thank you guys. Extremely blessed for all the support. I don't think it comes down to skill or anything. I think you can hear that everything that I've got today is based on dumb luck and just people deciding to support me for whatever reason. So I'm extremely blessed, and I don't think I'll be here without all those things happening. So I owe it to a lot of people where I am. That's all I'm going to say.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very sweet. Thank you, Rhea.